Alright, it's Henry again, and this is part 3 of my work in progress on the 1 to 100 scale resin, Heavyarms and Sandrock. And in this part I'm going to go over my modifications where I'll be converting each one between their normal type and Chi type, or space type if you want. Alright, so basically, for Gundam Heavyarms here, he's kind of disassembled right now, but what I'm going to have to do for him is change out a few parts. The differences between Heavyarms normal type and Heavyarms Chi are some extra thrusters on the backpack, extra thrusters on the back skirts, side skirts, and front skirts, and a double Gatling gun instead of a single Gatling gun. Now, when I originally bought this kit, it was a Heavyarms Chi. As you can see, double Gatling gun, thrusters on the front skirts, and can't really see in the other ones, but it's a Heavyarms Chi originally, so I'm going to have to modify this guy into a normal Heavyarms. And what I'm going to do is make some resin recasts of a few parts, and a couple of other parts I'm going to just do some scratch building and some other things to be able to convert this from normal to Chi. Now, I'm not going to go in depth into the resin casting process in this video. That's why I made that resin casting demo video a while back. So if you want to see about all the resin casting, go look at that. And then also on my Facebook page you can go see some more stuff where actually my first few attempts at resin casting, you can see all the mistakes I made leading up to this point. But anyway, basically I've just made some silicone molds in which I casted some of the parts and made copies of them. And basically I made copies of Heavyarms' backpack, his back skirts, side skirts, and front skirts, and I think that was it. That was all I had to recast for Heavyarms. So we started off with this backpack right here. As you can see, it's got 6 thrusters on it, 2 on the bottom, 2 on the top, and then 2 in the middle here. And basically I recast the main body of the backpack, and basically I filled in that top area where the thrusters went with putty, and then just sanded it completely flat. Added a little piece of ply plate here, because that's just a detail that's supposed to be there. And I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but I actually scribed a little triangle on there, but that'll show up better after it's been painted. And obviously I did away with those thrusters that were right there. And I was going to recast these thrusters, but I went digging around in my extra box of leftover Gunpil parts and found some plastic thrusters from another kit, and I'm just going to use those instead of trying to recast the resin thrusters. For the back skirt, this is the original back skirt that came with the Heavyarms Chi. As you can see, it's got some thrusters down there on the bottom, and basically I just made a recast of it. Bring this over here, and then just sanded those thrusters off. So we got a normal back skirt like this. Likewise for the side skirts, they've got very similar thrusters on the ends of them. And again, I just made a resin recast of those and sanded the thrusters off. So now I've got some normal type side skirts. And you can pretty much guess where this is going. The Chi's front skirts had little thrusters on the front, and I just recast them and then filled in those thrusters with some putty and then sanded them down flat. Now the double beam Gatling gun is where I got a little bit creative. At first I was going to simply recast one of these barrels and then recast the shield and make a new little box for the arm to fit into, and just basically have a completely separate single barrel Gatling gun. But I thought of a way I could basically convert this to a single barrel Gatling gun without having to do any recasting at all. Save me the time and money of doing that. So basically I've put this thing together with metal pins, and it's actually pretty sturdy. It doesn't it's not wobbly at all, so I think the metal pins are good for putting it together. So we take off the shield, take off this little box right here, and then separate, not that part, and then separate that so we have the shield and one barrel. And then I took some ply plate and basically just scratch built a new box for the arm to slide into. As you can see, the box for the double barrel Gatling gun is a bit larger. And basically, we're just going to, actually no, we put this into the shield first. And then, as you can see, it's got little metal pins on it as well. We can peg this into the shield, like so, and just line the holes up. And there we go. Now we've got a single barrel Gatling gun for the normal heavy arms. And again, it's pretty solid, doesn't really wobble around any, so I think the metal pins are going to work out pretty nicely for this. And actually, one feature I forgot to mention in the second work in progress video that a few people asked about was the combat knife on Heavyarms' right arm. Now basically, there's just a hole back here, and I basically used one of these little joints, the same kind of joint that I used for the skirt armor and the chest missile hatches. And basically I'll just plug into there, and it's got those little things on the sides just to kind of hide the joint a little bit, and it goes up and down pretty nicely. Alright, so that does it for Heavyarms modifications. Now let's move on to Sandrock. Now basically, I've got a normal Sandrock, and I need to convert it into Sandrock Kai. And what that's going to entail is putting some thrusters up inside the shoulder armor, some extra thrusters on the backpack, and an extra thruster on the back skirt, and then we'll have to build a beam submachine gun. So let's see how this is going to work out. Now at first I thought I was going to have to make resin recasts of the shoulder armor and then modify them with thrusters to go inside there, but I thought of a different way to do it that'll save me the trouble of having to recast the shoulder armor. Basically, I'll just make removable shoulder vents. I've taken some ply plate and just built 2 shoulder vents like so. And then, as you can see, I've got 2 little metal pins up at the top. And when you line those up and plug them in, you've now got Sandrock shoulder armor with some nice little thrusters on the side there. And they don't look perfect, but I think they do look pretty good. Now for the extra thruster on Sandrock's back skirt, what I did is, this is the original back skirt right here. If you watch my resin casting demo, you ought to be familiar with that. And I made a silicone mold of the back skirt, like so, as you can see there, and just made a resin recast of it. And I modified that recast by basically just building a thruster to go on the back of it out of ply plate. And I modeled that thruster after the thrusters that are on the side skirts. So, looks pretty similar, and I think it's going to work out pretty nicely. The next modification I had to do for Sandrock was add some thrusters onto the backpack. Now I went online and saw the line art for the backpack thrusters, and basically, just like my last 2 mods, built them out of ply plate. And here they are. It's actually 2 parts. There are some thrusters that'll go on the top and the bottom. And it's basically just a little ply plate box, and it's got several thrusters on the back. I'm not sure if you can see it, but I did scribe like some little lines on the insides of the thrusters there. And I actually think these turned out pretty nice. Put a peg right here that will just peg into the same spot where the shield used to peg into. Just like so. And then I've got 2 small holes on the bottom of the backpack where this will plug in. And there we go. I really like the way these turned out. I think I made them a little bit bigger than they should have been. Not by much, but I'm still happy with them, and I think they turned out really well. The only downside to Sandrock Kai is that obviously the shield isn't going to be able to connect to the backpack with Sandrock Kai, so I guess we'll just have to store it on his arm. Now the last mod that I had to do for Sandrock Kai was to scratch build a beam submachine gun. And basically, again, I built the whole thing out of plot plate, but I did use some metal parts. And here it is. Basically, the main body of the beam submachine gun is just some pieces of plot plate I stacked together and cemented those together into one piece. And then made the handle and the trigger separately. And added a little camera right here on the front. Used some metal tubes for the barrel, which I think turned out pretty nice. And it has one extra feature that the stock, I guess it's called, can flip around like so. The Master Grade Sandrock EW that's coming out this month has the same exact feature, so I wanted to have that feature on mine as well. And basically it's pretty simple. I just ran if I can get this off, basically just ran a metal pin through the beam submachine gun there, and then just connected the movable stock here to both ends of it, and so now it flips around like so. Kind of similar to Gundam ground types machine gun. Now, aside from just doing that, I also needed a trigger finger hand, so I made a mold of Sandrock's hands that were intended to hold his heat shortels, and recasted and modified one of the hands and basically just turned it into a trigger finger. I've got the fingers connected with some metal pins, so hopefully those should be nice and sturdy. And I'll just use that to hold the beam submachine gun. Now, one last thing that I had to do was find a way to connect the beam submachine gun to the back skirt. Now, as you can see on the 1:144 scale no-grade Sandrock, they accomplished this by basically just having a big peg sticking out of the back of the machine gun and pegging it into the back skirt like so. But I wasn't too thrilled about having a giant peg sticking out of my machine gun, so I used the magnet trick again. Anybody who watched my Nightingale resin kit video saw where I used a magnet to connect the shield to the arm. Well, I did the same thing for the beam submachine gun. Inside this thruster is a small magnet, and the beam submachine gun is really too small to put a magnet inside, so instead I just put some paper clip segments inside it and glued those in, and now it just easily holds onto the back skirt like so. No need for a peg or a clamp or anything like that, just holds on in place just fine. Alright, so now that all the modifications are done, we started off with a Heavyarms Kai and a normal Sandrock, and we ended with a normal Heavyarms and a Sandrock Kai. And here's a quick look at the back of each new kit, seeing as how we've got new parts for the backpack on both of them. So that does it for the third work in progress video for Heavyarms and Sandrock, and that took a little bit longer than I originally wanted it to, but I am pleased with the final results. So, all that's left to do now is just to get these guys painted. And that'll be the subject of my fourth work in progress video. So, that about does it for this video, and with that, I'll see you guys next time.